My name is Pat Burns. I am the Associate Vice President for Information and Instructional Technology at Colorado State University. I'm also a professor of mechanical engineering, and like you, I'm concerned with improving the academic achievement and retention of our students. As we all know, students today arrive at the university with very different sets of skills, life experiences, abilities, and learning styles. Some are non-traditional students with heavy extracurricular obligations. Others come from abroad and speak English as a second language. A smaller but significant number have some form of disability. How do we educate such a diverse population of students? Fortunately, we can turn to a large body of literature about best practices for teaching and learning. One such practice which I'd like to share with you today is a concept known as UDL, or Universal Design for Learning. The first principle of Universal Design for Learning is the long-acknowledged best practice of presenting concepts and information in multiple ways.
I believe that one of the goals of good teaching is to try and reach every student in the class, not just the best students. And I think a lot of traditional lecture courses may be geared towards students who do well at listening to a lecture and then repeating that information on examinations or using that information on examinations.
To me, teaching is all about communication and maximizing the student's experience so that anything new I can bring to the table might apply and stick to some of the things they already know. So for me, I'm trying to get real clear on how students process information and learn, and I know that they learn it different ways.
The thing I like about Universal Design for Learning is that it maximizes student learning by increasing the numbers of ways that students get to see information. And I think that more students can be reached when you use many alternatives to traditional lecture. So, let's pull out our clickers.
When we talk about student diversity, we also need to consider students with disabilities.
At CSU, we have approximately 750 students that have identified themselves as having a disability. Of these, roughly 75% have a learning disability. The number of students with non-apparent disabilities may in actuality be higher because the students either may not understand their disability or may even be reluctant to come forward and ask for assistance. Students with disabilities can be found in every discipline and every major.
Universal design principles help us reach and engage more students, both in and outside the classroom. It's not surprising, therefore, that instructional technologies are another important element of UDL, and one issue of particular importance is the development of web materials that everyone can use.
One thing we can all do that would make a huge difference at CSU is to take more care in the way we develop our web pages. By adhering to well-established guidelines for web accessibility, our web content becomes easier for everyone to access. Information can be easily translated into a variety of formats. Students with disabilities benefit, but so do users of older technology and those using the latest portable devices.
With the ever-increasing role of technology in education, it is imperative that our instructional materials be accessible to all. As a public institution, we're obligated to do this by law, but it's also just the right thing to do. Another hallmark of Universal Design for Learning is its emphasis on engaging students through multiple learning modalities.
So I try to plan before class and say, how do I break this class into sections? I can give some information, I want to practice some information. I want to draw something, I want to see a visual cue, I want somebody to stand up and teach somebody else. I want them to draw a picture of what we just covered. It's about me planning ahead enough to accommodate the different ways people learn, because if I only teach the way I learn, I'm going to miss too many people.
UDL also promotes active learning.
In my class, I do a lot of active learning. I really like more of an interaction and less of just me talking. But with a group this large, if I ask them questions and I ask them to raise their hands, no one wants to do it. And so, because no one wants to be the person who's wrong with their hand up. So the thing I like about the clickers is that I get students to answer questions, which gives me immediate feedback about where their level of understanding is, and then I know if I need to talk about a topic again.
One of the most effective ways to engage students is by sharing our enthusiasm for the topic we're asking them to learn.
I think that when professors are excited about the material, it just kind of spreads to the students and they get excited about it. And especially when the professor shows how the material really applies to real-world situations.
Closely tied to the principle of providing multiple opportunities for student engagement is the idea that students should be given, whenever possible, additional ways to express their comprehension and mastery of a topic.
I've come to learn that students learn best 3 ways, and I call it the 3 Ps, through projects, performances, and some kind of presentations. And I try to get away from lecturing and dumping information to them and give short lectures, asking them to come together and co-teach each other, to practice something, to draw me a picture of what I just taught, to find another way that taps into the many ways we process information.
They like the fact that there are opportunities to show what they know outside of traditional examinations. That they can do group examinations, that they can do problem solving, and that they can show their knowledge in alternative methods to traditional examinations.
So much of our learning is recall. I give it to you, you give it back to me, but it's not very deep. And that's why I've got to find ways for you to present it or somehow build a project around it or perform it some way, because then it's a much deeper learning. I know you've worn it and it's going to stay with you much longer. When that happens, I mean, students light up, and that's the reward that I get in teaching.
How we interact with our students, both in and outside the classroom, can profoundly affect student performance and retention.
As a foreign student, I really required some time before I could get interactive with the professor. Sometimes I was reluctant because I thought I would sound stupid by asking a very basic question. So it really took some time for me to interact with the professor during the class hours, asking him the question about the material which I'm not following.
It's more of a personal experience for the students if they feel like the faculty knows who they are and cares how they do. I get a lot of evaluation comments about the fact that they feel like I care what their performance is. It's not that I'm going to make them do well if they're not doing well, but I do care how they're doing and about helping them to do their best in the class.
Another way we make students feel welcome and valued is by being empathetic and accommodating. Our commitment to providing students what they need to succeed can be expressed both in writing on the syllabus and verbally in class.
It's really helpful when professors are understanding of a situation, of disability situation, and allow the students to take the exams in an alternative setting and to have, sufficient time to take their exams.
The inclusive pedagogy advocated by Universal Design for Learning can help obviate the need for special accommodations, but it is not a panacea. Fortunately, Colorado State University has several offices that provide specialized assistance to students and faculty, such as the Office of Resources for Disabled Students, the Assistive Technology Resource Center, the Academic Advancement Center, the Learning Assistance Center, and others. These offices assist students with sign language interpretation, assistive computer technology, conversion of textbooks to alternative formats, coaching and study skills, screening and diagnostic services, and more.
The assistive technology is just wonderful here at CSU because I'm able to get through so much of my text, so much of the material that I need to understand. It's just so helpful.
I go to class the same as everyone else. Last semester I had a girl from Resources for Disabled Students that helped take notes for me. She'd just meet me in class every day and take notes. This semester I'm doing a little different. I'm actually having kids in each class take notes for me. Basically during the day I use my computer quite a bit. I speak to the programs instead of type it in. But for typing I just say what I want to type and it types that. Wake up, start Internet Explorer.
By anticipating diversity in the classroom and designing instructional materials to be usable by everyone,
Colorado State University
instructors can actually help reduce the need for many individual accommodations. Universal Design for Learning helps us create more inclusive learning environments in which all students benefit.
What all of these practices have in common is they reach and engage the maximum number of learners. They assume that students possess different skills, experiences, and learning styles. They emphasize flexible and customizable curricula, and they use multiple modes of presenting content, engaging students and assessing their comprehension. So, what is universal design for learning? In many respects, it's just good teaching.
If I teach the way I best learn, I'm going to miss a lot of students. So I've got to accommodate those who learn differently than I do. So I try to plan before class and say, how do I break this class into sections? I can give some information, I want to practice some information. I want to draw something, I want to see a visual cue.
So I try to present things in more than one way in most lectures. So do things like demonstrations or active learning where they will work on a problem about it, or a clicker question where they work on it, so that students get to see a problem from more than one perspective.
Our students benefit greatly from assistive technology. This technology allows them to do things such as have the computer read the text to them, perhaps convert text into Braille, or even using voice commands to control access at the computer.